I'm up a little bit early. Everybody else is still sleeping. It is, you can tell the sun on the side of my face. It's just getting warm outside. I am going to go for a little bit of a walk and just walk around the yard here. Oh, it's so bright. And I want to kind of can take a look at my garden over there. Here, I'll put my head in front of the sun. There. So anyway, I'm just going to go check out my garden and see what I need to do today. I think I need to pull up the onions and lay them out, wash them off, and then lay them out so they can dry out so that I can put them into storage. Some of the white ones it's been really, really wet here, and they've been getting so much water. And we have an automatic watering system on the garden, and it got left on even during the wet months because I'm busy and I forgot. And so everything got really kind of mushy for the white onions because they're a little softer. I think they're sweeter. So the sweeter onions tend to get mushy faster. So they just store for less time just because there's so much sugar in them. Okay, so let's check this out. So here is my garden. You saw it when I was making spaghetti sauce. Holy crap, it is way early. And you'll see, here's my melons. And I have had the mice have been eating all my blossoms off this year. So I have had a huge challenge with getting anything started. Cucumbers, giant cucumbers, yay! All right. All right, yay, we get to have cucumbers for lunch. Love it. Okay, so I need to pull these off. Oh my gosh, I got a lot of them. I went from having none to all of a sudden having a bunch of them, which is awesome, but I don't think it's enough to make pickles. So I really like the tiny little cucumbers, but I just haven't been getting very many this year. Like I said, the mice have been eating the blossoms off. So I might have to make some sliced pickles, which I love, but they're not as crisp. When you use a whole pickle, a whole cucumber, they're much crisper. So, okay, let's see. All right, so let's see what we got over here. So something important when you're gardening is green beans. Never pick them when they're wet. See how wet the plants are? What happens is the actual beans will get rusty. You can see some of these leaves are a little bit rusty. See the brown on them? The green beans, the actual beans will get like that too. Well, that's just bugs. But never pick them when they're wet. That's a lesson I learned early on. And I was so sad. I had so many green beans that were brown and gross, and I was totally inedible, and I was not able to eat them. And so our garden got completely away from us this year. We had an interesting year. I had my director of sales that I had worked with for quite a few years. She left us, and so I had to take over that entire department again. I was kind of more doing just the marketing stuff for our business. And we have a manufacturing company. We manufacture backup cameras for tractors and big construction equipment and stuff like that. And we've been around since 2002. But it's just, anyway, I lost my director of sales, and then I had to run everything myself for a while until I hired somebody else. And I found some really great people. And so now that I've got a really great team put together, I am more managing them. I am master of all I survey. I'm just kidding. So right now I'm kind of in training mode, teaching everybody what they need to do, and I'm trying to deal with my garden. So that's why my garden got out of control. I was kind of running all the business myself, and then also my son, he joined the Army. And he was in basic training, and so we went down there to visit him during his family day. And then we also got invited to the White House to be in the Made in America product showcase, which was so cool. And then like 3 days later, I got invited to be on Fox News. Again, super cool, but it was just overwhelming. It was so much going on. And then my mom had a hip replacement, and she fell right after her replacement, and she had to get it replaced again. And so it's just, we're the sandwich generation. We've got our kids and we've got our parents. And, I'm in that Gen X category. I'm 46. And, there's... it's just what starts happening. And, my parents are still incredibly capable. So, but I worry what's going to happen I'm sitting here walking in circles around the garden. It's what I do. Like when I'm on the phone, I'm like, hey, and I walk like, I have my watch now and it tracks my steps, and sometimes I'll get like 5,000 steps on a phone call because I just walk in circles. So apparently I'll do a lot of that. I'm just going to walk in circles and make everybody dizzy. So yay, that's what I do. Okay, so I've accomplished nothing in the garden while I've been walking in circles around it talking. I am just going to go for a walk in general because I really can't do much out here. The cucumbers, I can pick a few, but everything's wet, and I just don't like to work with some of the stuff when it's all wet. So I will actually walk out to the deer haven. Yeah, let's go for a walk. So yesterday, in between when I was making spaghetti, Dave and my daughter Christy were out in what we call our deer haven, which is, we own 4 quarters of land, and this one's kind of kitty corner across the road. And we have an area where we had planted a bunch of apple trees. It's an old pasture that was kind of sectioned off. It was like a cattle run with a stock pond out there from when his dad used to have cattle. And it was kind of all grown up into little trees. And so we cleared out a section for hunting because you couldn't find a good place to put a blind. So we had kind of cleaned it out. And so then we planted some apple trees out there because in the yard, we just didn't quite have the space. Yeah, I know, didn't have the space. Don't laugh at me. We didn't have the space in the yard to plant the apple trees. And we also wanted something that was going to lure in the deer and, kind of make it a nice homey spot, home away from home. So anyway, we planted these apple trees and we had to put cages around them. And so now I'm getting off on a tangent. See, walking and talking, I thought I'd be better at this. So out in our deer haven, we have our apple trees, and it started kind of getting mowed around the apple trees. That actually started after I had my bees out there. We needed to be able to get out there to the hives to maintain them. I don't have any more bees this year. I'll get some more next year because they died. It was such a cold, horrible winter last year. I should just watching the camera for cars. See, I can see them right there. It was such a cold, horrible winter. I had one hive that died from starvation. I had one hive that had mice in it. And then the third hive, it got too moist because it got a little bit warm in the spring and then it cooled off. And then they just died. So that really sucked. So anyway, I've got actually 3 boxes and frames and everything else, and some of them even have quite a bit of honey in them. And so I will use them. Next year, I'll just buy a couple of packages of bees. I actually prefer nukes. So a package of bees, this is crazy that you can buy this. When I found this out, when I first started with bees, I thought it was so cool. Okay, so there's 2 things you can buy. You can buy a package of bees, which is, they go into the apiaries and they just scrape up a whole bunch of bees, and then they hatch out a queen, and they have to leave it in a little cage, and they put it with the hive, and then they have to start accepting it or else they'll kill her right away. So once they accept her, it makes a hive. So it's kind of like a bunch of strangers getting all put together, and they have to figure out how to cooperate. Well, so that would be a bee package, and that's a little cheaper. They run $70, $80, $90, depending on where you get them and how the year has been. Then there's what's called a nuke, which is a nuke. It's like a nuclear family. They call it a nuke. And they actually pull everybody from the same neighborhood and actually raise a queen from that neighborhood. And so your hive starts off as like a little baby hive. And it just functions much better. They're a lot more expensive. They're over $100 usually. But it's worth it because the survival rate and the take rate of the queen is much, much higher. They don't kill her. But I did have a hive last year that my queen died. And so, this was new for me a couple of years back, but I called them. I hadn't had a queen die yet. And I was like, what do I do? And they're like, buy a new queen. I'm like, really? And so in the mail, I got this box with the queen in it and a couple of little friends. So they put some drones in there with her. And it just came in the like FedEx or whatever. It was so crazy that I got bees in the mail. So that was a fun adventure. But I miss having the fresh honey this year. I have some left over from last year, but it's a lot of people. I give away dead frog. I give away a lot of honey because we can't eat it all. I got like 4 gallons last year, and while I love it, we just can't consume that much. There's a lot of stuff that we do that I give away. My garden produce, honey. When I make bread, it usually is a big giant batch. It's usually 7 or 8 loaves, and I'll give it away to folks. So just how I roll, always. Whew, walking and talking is getting old, man. So this is what we call our west quarter. So you'll see this is all in corn right now. So this is our renter, has this quarter all in corn. And the corn is getting really, really tall. So we had, bunnies. See the bunnies? Walk slow. Hi, guys. You're terrified of me. I'm so scary. And a quail? Oh, it's a dove. The dove scared you guys off. Great. I was stealthy, but the dove scared him off. So, and there's some nice hoof prints. Look at these. We've been seeing a big buck out here. He's got quite a bit of velvet yet on his antlers, but he had a nice rack. It was a nice 5x5 that hopefully nobody else gets. I'm the only one who got a tag this year. So back to the corn. So our renter had corn out here. It got planted a little later because the season was so late. And once, God, these doves are so loud. Once it got warm, it shot up and it put all the effort into the stalk. And so I don't know if you can see quite how tall this stuff is. It's just really, really tall. But the cobs look good. They're just drying out. And then, how do I do this one hand? Yuck. So yeah, the kernels are starting to look, they're really nice and filled. You can see, but it's not drying out at all. There's no denting happening at all. It's completely wet. So for September, I don't know if it's going to dry out in time. There's not a single kernel dented. But this is a second cob, so it's a pretty good length for a second cob. I remember when we first started farming that without the hybrid varieties, you would get a heavy wind and all these stalks would break down. And that's something that's really nice about some of these hybrid varieties. When you have bad weather, crazy weather, where the stalks would normally break down, it doesn't. They just stand up nice. They're hard, but the cobs are really difficult to get off. I had to yank pretty good at this one. So, and they're high. The cobs are really nice and high too, so it'll be easy to combine them. I don't know if you can see the way that a combine works is it's got like a little forks on it like this that go and they grab the stalk. Here, I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so they'll grab the stalk like this and they'll slide it, and so it goes like this and it kind of peels the cob off of the stalk. And you only do it when the corn is dry. Something else that a lot of my family in California that I never even considered was that this is field corn. It is not sweet corn. So if you were to try to eat this, it's not sweet. It's not good. It's very, very starchy. And that was something when I first moved here, I thought corn was corn, especially if you're making like high fructose corn syrup with it and stuff like that. You figure it's going to be sweet, but it's not. The coons still like it, not as good as my sweet corn patch, but they still will eat it. The deer eat it, which is why this will be nice out here for hunting this year, because the whole deer haven, as we call it, is surrounded by corn. So, and that just reminds me, when I first moved here, I remember, so this was 25 years ago, mind you, 20-year-old me, and Dave is my husband, and Dave said, hey, let's go get some fertilizer. And we had a little 4-wheel wagon, which was horrible to pull because it just went all over the road when you pulled it. So we had to go like 10 miles an hour. And we went up to Manador, to the place where the fertilizer plant was. And we would go to get fertilizer, and we pull it under the chute, and they open up the chute, and this white granules start falling out. And I was like, I thought we were getting fertilizer. And my husband's like, well, what did you expect? And I said, cow shit? And he's like, no, there's different kinds of fertilizer. So granular fertilizer in farming is like granulated phosphate and potash and nitrogen and stuff like that. And it looks like the white little ball stuffing inside of like a stuffed animal when the dog breaks it apart or something. They look like little foam pellets. They're white, and there's a few black ones in there. I forget what the black ones are, but they're different. They're different food for the plants, and you can get different mixes. You can get with higher nitrogen or higher phosphorus or phosphate or whatever it is. And so, yeah, that was one of my early lessons in farming that I learned. So, and Dave is always such a good sport about it, about teaching me all the stuff when I first moved here. I always feel like, you know, whenever anybody asks me about Dave and, you know, marriage, or if other people ask me about relationships, one of the things that I always tell people is a relationship is, it's what makes you better. And it's kind of stupid, but something was scratching around here. Look at that. But anyway, it might sound kind of silly or corny or stupid, but I always think about, there was in the book Charlotte's Web, it starts off that there was an old barn and a spider and you know, individual and a pig, and individually they were just a spider and a barn and a pig, but together they made something amazing. And I feel like that's how my relationship is, that I'm so much more. I have a husband who's incredibly encouraging. You will never see him on camera. He hates the camera. You might see his shoes every now and then, but he's incredibly supportive, and it's the reason, a big part of the reason I am who I am today. Being married to him for 25 years and having that kind of support in your life, it allows you to do things that you would have never thought possible. And it allows you to accomplish things that you never thought possible. So while you'll see me a lot in these videos, and you'll hear me talking that I do this and I do that, those things are not possible without my partner. And that's so important. Okay. Ooh, it's pretty. Look. All right, I turned the camera around. I'm just walking towards the deer haven now. So Dave and I had decided that we really did need to get healthier and walk more. He's 8 years older than me, and so he's in his 50s, and you know, he keeps, you know, talking about how, you know, we're getting older and we need to make sure to keep moving. And since we don't have the farm anymore and we're more sitting at desks and at computers way more often, it's easy to put on very few steps in a day and not get out and do the things we used to do, like when we were more active and younger. So after we were down south and at a lot of the KOAs when we were camping, we saw a lot of these great walk paths, and we were like, Dave was like, hey, we have this amazing spot. Let's just mow a little bit of a path into it and we can go down there and walk. So we walk down here pretty much every day and we do our laps, and it's beautiful. We have, so one of the cameras that our business makes is called the InnoPro camera, and it's like a ruggedized IP camera. So we have those out here. Dave's got it rigged up to solar panels. And so we can just turn on the cameras and see if there's any deer out here, which is super fun. And then we got a couple of game cameras. Crap, I forgot the memory cards. I was going to switch them out. So we have the cameras on solar panels, and then we have our little stock pond here, which Dave has been getting incredibly frustrated. It's full of algae. And it's very green and gross. And so we've been trying to figure out ways to aerate it or add water. So with the water table so close to the ground, he actually got a sand point, and we drilled our own well. and with questionable results. That's what Dave and Christy were doing yesterday. I came out and helped them a little bit. But so here's our hunting blind. I will do another video on just in general hunting and the hunting blind and stuff another day. Ooh, it's so pretty. So here's our apple trees. There's our deer feeder, which scares the crap out of me when it turns on. It's full of corn. It has like a spinner. Here, I'll walk up to it and I'll show you. It has a spinner on the bottom that kind of flings out corn. And if you're standing here when it starts throwing corn, it's not gentle. So it's kind of like the chaff spreader on the back of a combine. So it just spins. So really, so it just kind of spreads the corn out all over and the deer eat it up. And here's our well, the well head that Dave put in yesterday. So what he's going to do is put it on a timer since it can't run full time. There wasn't enough water down there. So he's going to put it on, he just ordered a timer so it'll run for like 45 minutes at a time, a couple times a day. And then here's his solar panel that he put out here. I have a video of it going down the road. So this is him, how we got it out here on the Bobcat. It was a little precarious. I was a little scared. So, okay. So we'll go for a walk. So here's the rest of our path. Oh, come for a walk with me. Oh, great. Now my watch says, congratulations, you're actually walking. So this is a walk that we take, like I said, every day. It's beautiful. So remember I said it was a really horrible year. It was a late spring. We got frost really, really late. This apple tree has just a few apples. My one in the yard I think has 2. And this is it. This is all we got. So I'm going to wait until the first frost hits. That'll bring the sweetness out in the apples. And then I'll pick my 1, 2, 4, 5 apples. There were 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's still 6. Squirrels have been stealing my apples, man. Kick their asses. All right. I'm going to head back. And I'm actually going to pull my onions and lay them out so they can dry out. Okay, so I've got my wagon. See if I'm smarter than a wagon. Yeah, I know how to drive 4-wheeled vehicles. All right. Okay. For my onions. Okay, so this is going to be my challenge, learning how to do things one-handed. All right. We got a gate on here. We got lots of gate on here, fence and everything for rabbits and deer and everything else. Stay. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick all the onions. And then we're going to wash them off and lay them out on a tarp so that they can dry out. You never want to store onions when they're wet because they will rot. So these are the ones, this is how they should look. This is the garden that got weeded. Weeded more recently, but not. And then this batch of onions got weeded never. So look at this. This grass is completely taken over. I don't even know if there's any onions left in there. The only way we're going to be able to deal with this is actually cut this grass off, spray it with glyphosate, and deal with the roots next year because there is no salvaging any part of this. So I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to focus on what I might be able to get out of this section. And I'm actually going to go get the Humvee so I can drop all these weeds in the back of there. So, all right, let's pull some